Hello and welcome to the How to Add a Meeting tutorial using Star Chapter, because we have no other choice. So when you go into the administrative area of Star Chapter for our website, you're going to get to this snapshot page. It does contain a lot of really great information. As I'm scrolling through, you can kind of take a look, and it's all pretty self-explanatory. So for the purposes of this particular video, however, we're going to be working on the left-hand side of the screen. And as you can see, we have great pull-down tabs for the dashboard, the membership, and the meetings area. We're going to click on Meetings and Meeting Manager. Now that's going to get you to the page of the list of meetings. In this list of meetings, as it says, lists all the meetings that we've ever done, ever will do. And I've already loaded the March meeting information, but I'm going to show you how to create one from scratch, and then we can loop around and work with the March meeting info that's already here. So again, just go to the top of the screen, click Add a Meeting. It's going to lead you to a page that is going to ask you for a meeting name. You could just put meeting, meeting test or meeting something. It doesn't have to be the final thing. You're going to have the opportunity to edit everything at the end before you hit complete. And the second thing that you have to fill in here is pretty interesting. It asks you for your template information. You can choose to use a new template or a standard or something that we've done in the past. I choose to go and work with something that I've done in the past because it populates with information, as you'll see later, that just saves me a lot of work. But you can, as you get comfortable with the system, you can create your own new template. You can kind of play around with it, see what works for you and what's most efficient for you. So you don't have to use a template at this stage, not by any means. I just do it because I'm comfortable with it. So I'm going to click on this particular template. I'm going to click Next. It's going to ask you for the category. It doesn't give you any other category, and you're going to find that is kind of a little bit of a glitch with Star Chapter. Some of the pull-down tabs don't actually pull down to anything, and that's just is what it is. It's going to then ask you for the date and time information, and this information right here is interesting. You've got registration cutoff, late and early bird ticketing. Now, at a certain point in time, we were creating a multiple tiered level ticketing structure for the chapter. But what we found was that it really didn't make a difference. People who bought 3 weeks in advance always buy 3 weeks in advance. People who called you up the day of and said, I can't figure out how to get into the website. And even though they've gotten into this website 50 times before, this is the month they can't get in. I don't know. It still happens, and it's the same people. So we've gotten away from the multiple tiers of ticketing prices. But if we get back to that, this is where that information would get updated, so that you make sure that those discounts happen when they're supposed to happen. Now, for the purposes of creating this test or anything going forward, you have to just make sure that your defaults are set to times that make sense. So for example, this meeting has defaulted to the 20th, and with a start time of 6 p.m. and an end time of 9 p.m. That was a function of putting in that template information. If you don't work with the templates, then you're going to have to create all of this information by scratch. Again, not a big deal. It just whatever you feel comfortable with. And I'm going to change this timeline here because it doesn't default to a time that makes sense. It defaults to a time that is past your meeting start time, and then it's going to tell you, hey, what are you doing? We can't have ticketing cut off. We can't have early bird cut off after the meeting has started. It's like, okay, great. I don't know why it did it, but it does it a certain way, but it does. We'll actually go to 5 p.m. here. Okay, your next up is going to be your venue information. Now, if you click on the pull down tab here, it does populate with a bunch of venues that we've worked with in the past. And you can create a one-time venue. I tend to not use this feature anymore because it doesn't really make a difference to the memory of the system or the functioning of the system if we just create a reusable venue. And then that way the information is there. If we want to go back and do a cocktail hour or a workshop, something in the future, then we have that information listed and we don't have to go hunting for it. So for the purposes of this meeting, I've already loaded in the Bethesda Marriott information. And just make sure that your address is right, that your website information is uploaded, because this is how this information is going to appear on the website itself. So you just want to make sure that this is accurate. And go ahead and click Next. Okay, now we get into the meat and potatoes of the meeting information. Right here in your headline. So this is where you want to get a little bit catchy with how you call it. So it's going to carry over what we initially put in there. And then again, this is part of the screen where you can go ahead, go back and create and edit things. So we probably want to do something a little bit catchier. This is the information that's going to appear on the website. People are going to want to come by and click on the link and see something, pretty interesting. So March meeting 2019, Megan Ely is awesome. And the excerpt from the meeting. Now, I typically use the speaker's points, something through either the title of what they're speaking on, or an excerpt on some of their speaking points, just some things that people, know what's coming up. But if you don't find that that's catchy enough, feel free to insert, any verbiage of your own.